54. And my father was a male nurse by profession, and then he also was a social worker. And if you would have known or seen my father, he was a very energetic person. He was loving, and he always cared about people. And for some small reason, Nurse Edwards have a lot of this personality. I don't think I ever told you that. But he was that kind of person who always liked to bring out the best in people, and always pushing them and encouraging them to do their best. And I remember, even as a child growing up, when he had to go and do house calls or visits or whatever, and we would be in the car, and we'd be like, Daddy, why do we have to meet out so long? Because it's like we could never just go straight home after work. He always have to make these stops. And he always said, well, you know, I have to give people a medication, I got to make sure they're okay. And sometimes some people would get depressed, and so they would call him, and he would go and he would consult with them. And he was a man that gets to play dual roles. And even though my mother was more of a spiritual leader, because my father was religious, but my mom was more spiritual, I just never thought that he would have gone so soon. And he never had a chance to hold my daughter in his arms. My daughter is 8, so he died about 10 years ago, not even 7. He didn't have a chance to see my youngest sister graduate from school. Me and my other sisters graduated from college. And he didn't have the chance to see us have our own homes, and a lot of the things that he would have said to us and what we would have wanted. And we achieved our team. He didn't have that chance. And while he was in the hospital, he died from complications associated to diabetes, or with diabetes. And while my father was never late for work, and he was never absent. He was never late, and he was never absent. All of the years, I had sense to know and recognize. The only time when he was absent was 2 or 3 weeks prior to his death. And I was so not used to him being home. And even though I was out of the house at the time, because I was already married, just coming home and seeing him and smelling this perfume that he liked, I just didn't think that he was going to go. I thought he was just going to bounce back. One Sunday, he went and he slipped into a diabetic coma. We were getting ready for church. My mother didn't know what to do. She called everybody, and he was just there sitting, laying down lifeless. And ambulance came, we rushed him to the hospital. He came to, he was okay, but they kept him in because they realized he had a lot of complications. And I'm saying all this to say that he cared about so many other people, but he didn't care that much about himself. And while everybody was getting their medication and he was giving them constant, he was depressed when he was ill. And then there was nobody there for him other than us. And it saddens me that, he's gone, but it also gave me a zeal to keep moving, keep working, keep pushing, and keep encouraging, because sometimes we take these little simple things, or these little ailments, because we call them little, because we figure we're okay. And I figured he was okay too. But you just never know when that okay will end it. And he isn't here today, he's gone, he's sadly missed. And his twin brother, identical twins, died 2 years after him for the same thing, and the only difference was his twin brother was also a male nurse and worked very closely with the Red Cross. He had his leg amputated because he was on medication. He still wasn't taking care of himself as he should, and he was on dialysis. And it's just a whole 9 yards. And I can tell you history because I know this thing runs so deep and so far in my family. Sometimes I know my sisters think I'm a drill sergeant, but I go to Nassau, and I see that they start putting on so much weight, especially around the midsection. And I always encourage them, come on, you gotta get your sit-ups in, you gotta go jogging, you gotta do this. Because if you want to see your children, your grandchildren, and see them live a happy, productive life, then you gotta take care of you. You must take care of you. You cannot take life for granted because it's not promised to us forever. Even though the Bible says, what the priest will understand, if we live to see that nowadays, that's a blessing. And so the diagnosis of diabetes and whatever, you know, sometimes we get diagnosed so early and we still don't take heed. We still want to eat what we want to eat. Stick to your diet. Stay away from those things that are harmful, and just be encouraged and encourage each other, because it only takes one time for you to slip up. It took my father one time, and that one time he never recovered and he died. And I'm not trying to say that diabetes is a death sentence, because it isn't. You can still live a happy, normal life without medication, as long as you exercise and you watch what you eat. So that was my word of encouragement to you.